Chapter 1. History of Primitive, Ancient, Medieval Society. More than 3 million years ago, humankind began to appear and live in East Africa. From more than 3 million years ago to about 40,000 years ago, the period when humankind lived in a primitive state, forming into packs, using very rudimentary stone labor tools, the Paleolithic Age. They lived by digging up roots and hunting animals, and thus gradually adapted to nature. During the process of labor, humankind discovered and learned how to make fire, how to use it and keep it, which was considered the most important invention of this period. From about 40,000 years ago to 6,000 years ago, the period when humankind lived under the clan organization, a social organization based on blood relations. The gathering form came to an end. Production had a significant development, especially the development of labor tools. From the early rough stage, it had shifted to the Middle and Neolithic ages. They knew cultivation and animal husbandry. Religion and art also arose and developed into certain beliefs. The transformation of clan society was typical for the formation of Homo sapiens, as we call today the wise and intelligent human. Around 4000 BC, in the Nile Basin, Egypt, the process of forming a unified Egyptian state appeared under the first dynasty, ruled by King Menes. This first pharaoh established the capital of Egypt at Tinit. 4000 BC, the Eurybidians settled in the southern region of Mesopotamia, building cities in the plains of the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, laying the foundation for the primitive civilization here. Afterwards, nomadic inhabitants from Syria and the Arabian Peninsula came to invade this region, but later mixed with the Eurybidians. By 3500 BC, the Sumerians appeared in Mesopotamia, establishing settlements in the Tigris basin and along the Euphrates River, and building a society with a rather advanced civilization. Around 2000 BC, the period of the Old Kingdom in Egypt flourished greatly, with brilliant art and architecture, most outstandingly the pyramids, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, built for the first time, the most famous being the Giza Pyramid Complex, constructed around 2753, 2563 BC, 1900 BC. The Indus Valley civilization in northern India developed highly, building the cities of Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro with dense houses and a drainage system with proper sewage. Around 2800 BC, the Cretan people, Greece, created the Minoan civilization, named after their legendary King Minos. From 1700 to 1400 BC, the Minoan culture reached its peak with magnificent palaces, a large-scale sewage system, and many courtyards, corridors, storerooms, workshops, residences, council chambers, and offices, evidence of the advanced technology of the Cretans. Around 2500–2000 BC, the Phoenicians settled and thrived on the eastern coast of the Mediterranean, present-day Syria and Lebanon, and built their civilization with famous cities such as Tyre and Sidon. Around 2300–25 BC, Sargon the Great of Akkad conquered the Sumerian states and built a unified Akkadian-Sumerian kingdom. For the first time in Mesopotamian history, a vast land between the Persian Gulf and the Mesopotamian mountains was unified. Sargon the Great also seized the Black Sea coast and part of Asia Minor. At that time, no country had such a vast territory. Around 2205 BC, the Xia dynasty, 2205–1766 BC, the first dynasty in Chinese history, was established. The Xia dynasty lasted until 1766 BC. During this time, the Chinese people had already developed rice and millet cultivation and raised livestock such as horses. Around 2000 BC, the Mycenaeans on the Greek peninsula began to build a civilization, developed and prospered, and later absorbed the Minoan civilization that had collapsed, 1400 BC. From then on, the Mycenaeans replaced the Cretans in dominating the Mediterranean region. 1592–1750 BC. King Hammurabi ruled the ancient Babylonian kingdom, placing most of Mesopotamia and Assyria under Babylonian control. Hammurabi compiled and enacted his famous Code of Law. The Code of Hammurabi, one of the oldest written codes of law in the world. 1567, 1085 BC, the period of the New Kingdom in Egypt, a stage of civilization that reached its peak. Between 1292 and 1225 BC, Pharaoh Ramses II completed the construction of famous temples at Karnak, Thebes, Luxor, and Abu Simbel. Moses led the Hebrew Jews to escape from Egypt. 1500, 500 BC, the Aryans from Central Asia invaded the Indus Valley in northern India. Here, they absorbed the culture and farming techniques of the Dravidians and built their civilization. During this time, the Vedas were written, Brahmanism was formed, and the harsh caste system, Varna, was established. Around 1250 BC, the Hebrews entered the land of Canaan. In 1028, 1004 BC, Saul became the first king of the Hebrews, the state of Palestine was established, and Judaism was formed. 1200 BC, the Nok culture of black people in Nigeria developed, noted for very lively statues. Around 200 BC, the Nok culture declined. Around 1200 BC, the fierce and prolonged Greek-Trojan War broke out, ending with the victory of Greece. This war was mythologized by Homer, the famous Greek poet living from the 11th to the 9th century BC, in the epic poems Iliad and Odyssey. Around 1050 BC, King Wu of Zhou, leader of the Zhou people in the basins of the Jing and Wei rivers, led his army across the Yellow River to attack the capital Zhaogi of the Shang dynasty. The last Shang king Zhou could not resist and committed suicide. The Shang dynasty collapsed, and the Zhou dynasty was established. King Wu of Zhou became the son of heaven and made Haojing the capital. Around 1050, 771 BC. China during this period was under the rule of the Zhou dynasty, also called the Western Zhou period. During this time, the Zhou king granted land to royal family members and meritorious officials as feudal lords and built the large-scale Luoyi as the eastern capital. Apart from the king, the Zhou government also had officials such as the Minister of Education, Minister of War, Minister of Justice, and Minister of Works. The Minister of Justice held responsibilities in finance, military, public works, and law. Kings and nobles were hereditary. Thanks to the land allotment policy, the politics of the Western Zhou period was relatively stable, and both economy and culture achieved prosperity. 1027, 211 BC, the Zhou dynasty, China, replaced the Shang dynasty, bringing ancient Chinese society into its most developed period. In the field of culture and thought during the Zhou period, there were many outstanding scholars, typically Confucius and Laozi. 910, 606 BC, the prosperous period of the Assyrian Empire. Assyria successively conquered Mesopotamia, Phoenicia, Urartu, and Syria. From 721 to 705 BC, Assyria completed the conquest of Israel, forcing the natives into exile. From 705 to 681 BC, Assyria under Sennacherib built Babylon and Nineveh. 850 BC, King Li of Zhou, China, together with some nobles, seized the forest, mountain, river, and lake resources, which were common property of rural communes, and suppressed the resisting people. In 814 BC, the people rose up and attacked the royal palace, expelling King Li. The king's power was handed over to the Council of Nobles, which in history was called the Republic. From that year, Chinese history began to have clearly recorded dates. 814 BC, the state of Carthage, the famous colony of the Phoenicians, was established. Gradually, Carthage became a wealthy and powerful commercial empire, whose territory included almost the entire coastal region and islands of the western Mediterranean. Carthage was destroyed after the Punic Wars with the Romans. Around 800–700 BC, the state of the Greeks was born, marking the appearance of city-states, the most famous being Sparta and Athens. This city-state political system was preserved for a long time. In 338 BC, the Macedonians conquered and unified Greece. 776 BC, The Olympic Games were held for the first time in Greece, originating from the Greek practice of frequent physical training to become champion warriors. Every 4 years, they organized in Olympia an athletics festival to compete in sports such as wrestling, running, high jump, javelin throwing, discus throwing, horse riding. Until today, international athletic festivals are still called the Olympic Games. 771 BC, the Quanrong attacked Hao Jing, and King Yu of Zhou was killed at the foot of Mount Li. The Quanrong occupied the Wei River basin. In that same year, Crown Prince Jizhou ascended the throne as King Ping of Zhou. King Ping moved the capital eastward to Luoyi, historically called the Eastern Zhou, 771–221 BC, 771–481 BC, China during the spring and autumn period. The historical characteristics of this period were that agriculture used iron tools, handicraft tools were improved, and weaving and pottery flourished. Private land ownership appeared. The competition among feudal lords was fierce, leading society to be divided into many rival feudal states. The spring and autumn period also saw the emergence of two great thinkers, Laozi and Confucius. 753 BC, the Latin tribes on the Italian peninsula built the city of Rome on the bank of the Tiber River, named after the legendary figure Romulus, considered the founder of the city. From here began the development of the Roman state. Around 750 BC, the Kushites settled in Sudan, developed civilization, built castles and pyramids, and traded with Rome and India. Their last king died in 320. By 350, the capital of the Kushites fell into the hands of the Ethiopians and was subdued. 605–539 BC. The period of the Neo-Babylonian kingdom in Mesopotamia, which flourished magnificently. Babylon, with its hanging gardens, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, was the largest city at that time. 594 BC, Solon carried out constitutional and social reforms in Athens, building a limited slave-owning democracy. 586 BC, Babylon captured Jerusalem, destroyed the Temple of Solomon, and brought the Jews back to Babylon. Around 563–483 BC, Sakyamuni Buddha preached in India, founding Buddhism, marking the formation of Buddhism. Around 551–479 BC, Confucius taught moral principles in China and at the same time compiled and edited the Shi, Shu, Li, Yue, Yi, and Chunkyu. Among these, the Yue, Book of Music, was lost, and the remaining ones were called the 5 Classics. 550 BC. The Persian Empire founded by Cyrus the Great included vast regions of the Near and Middle East. Persian art and architecture developed to their peak. Zoroastrianism, worship of the fire god, spread widely. 538 BC, Persia conquered Babylon and allowed the Jews to return to Jerusalem. 509–506 BC, Cleisthenes continued the democratization of politics and the state of Athens through radical constitutional and social reforms. The Athenian state was perfected, and Greece became the country with the most advanced democratic politics of that time. Around 500 BC, the Chinese invented the abacus. Around 500 BC, the kingdom of Aksum in Ethiopia was born. Castles, tombs, and stone temples were built. This kingdom had trade relations with India and the Middle East and collapsed in 700. 549 BC, the Greco-Persian Wars broke out due to trade rivalry between Athens and Persia. The war ended with the victory of Greece. Athens became the leading city of Greece and the hegemon of the Eastern Mediterranean. Between 500–440 BC. Leucippus, a Greek philosopher, proposed the theory of causality, asserting that all events in nature have causes within nature. 481–221 BC, China during the Warring States period, the final stage of the Eastern Zhou. During this time, wars led to the formation of 7 major states: Qi, Chu, Yan, Qin, Han, Zhao, Wei, and several smaller states. the 7 major states constantly waged large-scale wars. In production, agriculture in the states developed. Many large irrigation works were built, such as the Dujiangyan project of the Qin state and the Zheng Canal. Handicrafts also developed, famous for carving, gold plating, weaving, and lacquerware. Academic activities, especially in the field of thought, were vibrant, leading to the formation of famous philosophical schools such as Mohism, Confucianism, Taoism, and legalism, with great thinkers of the time such as Mozi, Mencius, Zunzi, Zhuangzi, and Han Feizi. Between 460–400 BC, Democritus, a Greek philosopher, proposed the concept of matter having an atomic structure. According to this concept, all substances are composed of tiny atoms invisible to the human eye. 457–429 BC, the age of Pericles, the golden age of Athens. Philosophy, sculpture, and painting reached their peak. The Parthenon, the greatest temple of ancient Greece, was built from 447 to 432 BC on the Acropolis. 440–370 BC. Hippocrates, the Greek physician and father of medicine, took medicine out of superstition into observation, believing that nature is the best healer. 435 BC. Phidias, the greatest architect and sculptor of ancient Greece, completed the statue of Zeus, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, for the Temple of Olympia. 431–404 BC. The Greek Civil War, historically called the Peloponnesian War, broke out and spread, originating from the rivalry between Sparta and Athens. Athens was defeated and destroyed. 387 BC. Plato, the ancient Greek philosopher, founded his academy in Athens, considered the first university in Europe. 359–336 BC. King Philip of Macedonia conquered Thrace, Thebes, and Athens, then unified Greece into a league under his domination. 336–323 BC. Alexander, son of Philip, ruled Macedonia. He was a military genius of antiquity, and the first European to conduct many wars of conquest in the East. Under his rule, the Macedonian Empire expanded, annexing both Egypt and the Near East. In 327–326 BC, Alexander invaded India, but later had to withdraw because his army mutinied. 325–298 BC, the dynasty of Chandragupta, founder of the famous Maurya dynasty, unified India. 323 BC, the Hellenistic period began, with Greek influence spreading to the Mediterranean, Egypt, and the Near East. On this basis, in the Hellenistic states, there was a harmonious blending and mutual penetration between Greek classical culture and the precious cultural heritages of the East. The Hellenistic period ended in 30 BC, 323–30 BC, the Ptolemaic dynasty in Egypt from King Ptolemy I, 305–283 BC, to Ptolemy XV. 300 BC. Herophilus, a Greek physician and anatomist, the first true anatomist, began systematic research on anatomy, distinguishing sensory nerves from motor nerves. Around 300 BC, the Greek mathematician Euclid compiled the Elements, formally stating the principles of geometry for the first time. Around 300 BC, the Chinese discovered the lodestone and knew how to use it for direction. By the 11th century, people began rubbing iron on lodestone to obtain magnetism, then used that iron piece to make the compass. 330 BC. The city of Alexandria in Egypt became the intellectual center of the Hellenistic world. 292–280 BC, the Colossus of Rhodes, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, was built. This statue of the sun god Helios was made of bronze and over 100 feet tall, 1 foot, 0.248 meters. 287 BC, the birth of Archimedes. 287–212 BC, the Greek mathematician and physicist who discovered the law of buoyancy and founded hydrostatics. 280 BC, the lighthouse of Pharos in Alexandria, Egypt, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, was built. 273–236 BC, Under the reign of King Ashoka, ancient India reached its most prosperous period. Buddhism was established as the state religion and was widely propagated. He built many temples, engraved many edicts on stone pillars and rock walls, and convened the Third Buddhist Council in Pataliputra. 264–146 BC, the Punic Wars between Rome and Carthage for land, markets, and slaves. Carthage was defeated, and Rome unified nearly the entire Mediterranean region, including the Italian peninsula, Spain, Macedonia, Greece, Asia Minor, Syria, Egypt, and the North African coast, into a vast empire. 250 BC, the Parthian Empire replaced the Persian Empire in the Near East and lasted until 226 AD. Around 230 BC, Eratosthenes, the Greek astronomer, first calculated the Earth's circumference without using astronomical instruments. 221 BC, Qin Shi Huang unified China, establishing the Qin dynasty. 221–206 BC, the first centralized feudal monarchy in China. The Qin dynasty enforced harsh rule under legalism, built the Great Wall to prevent and block the Xiongnu from the north. Peasant uprisings led by Chen Sheng and Wu Guang caused the Qin dynasty to collapse. 209 BC, the Great Peasant Uprising at the end of the Qin dynasty in China, led by Chen Sheng and Wu Guang, broke out. After several months, Chen Sheng proclaimed himself king, taking the title Jiang Chu, and established a new government in Chen. But due to fragmentation and internal division, after half a year of struggle, the uprising failed. After Chen Sheng and Wu Guang's rebellion, the struggle against the Qin dynasty flared up and spread throughout the country, typically with the uprisings led by Jiang Yu and Liu Bang. 206–202 BC. The Han dynasty of China was established. Throughout more than 400 years of relative peace and stability, the Han dynasty developed production, built many transportation and irrigation works, achieved great artistic achievements, expanded territory, and spread Buddhism. This dynasty collapsed in 220 AD 202 BC. The printing technique of China appeared. People carved characters on stone blocks and then printed books. During the Sui and Tang dynasties, printing was quite developed, but it was not until 1041 that movable type printing in China was invented by a man named Bi Sheng. Around 200 BC, the famous Indian epic poem Mahabharata was composed in Sanskrit. 200–100 BC, Hipparchus, the famous astronomer, was born. 146 BC, Macedonia became a province of the Roman Empire. 140–87 BC, China under the reign of Emperor Wu, the famous emperor of the Han dynasty. He was the one who laid the foundation for many fundamental policies of the Han dynasty. His main policies were strengthening and centralizing power in the central government, easing burdens on the people by reducing taxes, corvée, and services, building many irrigation works for production, promoting Confucianism, and making it the spiritual tool to protect China's feudal regime, conducting many wars of conquest of neighboring countries to expand territory. 100 BC, the Paracas culture of the Chavin civilization in Peru developed. 73–71 BC, the slave uprising led by Spartacus broke out in southern Italy. The rebel army won many battles, freeing many slaves, but eventually was suppressed by the Roman army commanded by General Crassus. More than 6,000 captured rebels were later executed on crosses. 60 BC. The three generals Caesar, Pompey, and Crassus held joint power in ruling Rome, historically called the First Triumvirate. In 53 BC, Crassus died. In 46 BC, Caesar defeated Pompey and became Roman dictator. 44 BC, Caesar was assassinated while presiding over a Senate meeting. 48 BC, Caesar met Cleopatra in Egypt. With his help, Cleopatra became Queen of Egypt. 47–30 BC. 43 BC, Antony, Octavian, and Lepidus established the Second Triumvirate. In 30 BC, Octavian defeated the allied forces of Antony and Cleopatra and became the first emperor of Rome. The Roman Republic was replaced by the monarchy. 14 AD. the Roman Empire began a period of peace lasting about 200 years, ending in 192. Year 1, Jesus or Jesus Christ was born in Bethlehem. Year 17, the Green Forest, Red Eyebrow Peasant Uprising in China broke out. In year 23, Liu Xiu, leader of one of the uprising groups in Hebei, annihilated or subdued other rebel groups, took control of the entire Hebei region and captured Luoyang. In year 25, Liu Xiu proclaimed himself emperor, with the reign title Guangwu Emperor, named the country Han, established the capital in Luoyang. History calls it the Eastern Han, year 25th, 220. Around year 30, Jesus was crucified in Jerusalem. Emperor Claudius the Son expelled the Jews from Rome. Year 43, the Romans ruled Britain until year 407. Years 54–68, the reign of Emperor Nero, the last of the Roman emperors of the Julius dynasty. He blamed Christians for the great fire that destroyed Rome and carried out brutal massacres against them. Year 60, the Kushan kings of Gandhara began. Ruling western Pakistan, established an empire stretching from Central Asia to India, and founded a famous school teaching Buddhist sculpture. Around year 98, Tacitus, Roman historian, completed his greatest historical work, Germania. Around year 100, the Funan Empire was established. From the 3rd century, Funan had relations with China. Indian culture, especially Hindu culture, early influenced this country. Around year 100, the Kingdom of Champa was established. Year 100, the Teotihuacan civilization, one of the earliest civilizations of America, developed in central Mexico. Year 105, for the first time, Kai Lun, an official of the Eastern Han dynasty, China, used bark, old fishing nets, and rags to invent paper. Year 1–17, the Roman Empire expanded to its maximum after conquering Dacia, present-day Romania, Armenia, and Upper Mesopotamia. Years 132–135, Rome suppressed the uprising of the Jewish people in Palestine. The Jews were expelled from Jerusalem. Around years 100–200, Claudius Ptolemy, Greek astronomer, compiled contemporary astronomical knowledge in the book Almagest, proposing the cosmic mechanical system. Year 220, the Han dynasty in China ended. China was divided into many small states and fell into constant wars for more than 3 centuries. Year 303, Roman Emperor Diocletian brutally massacred Christians. Years 306–337, the reign of Constantine the Czar, the first Roman emperor to follow Christianity. He issued the Edict of Milan, year 313, recognizing Christianity as a legal religion, and convened the Council of Christian Bishops in Nicaea in year 325, the first large-scale Christian council in history. Year 317, the Northern and Southern Dynasties period, China was divided into dynasties in the north and south, and only reunified in year 590. Year 320, Chandragupta unified India, established the Gupta dynasty, 300–2500, marking the beginning of the feudal system in India. The Gupta dynasty marked the golden age of Hindu art and literature. Year 330, Emperor Constantine I made Constantinople, today Istanbul, the new capital of the Roman Empire. Year 350, the Huns began invading Europe, driving the Goths, a people living in the region north of the Danube River and on the plains of present-day Ukraine, westward. Year 381, the Second Christian Council in Constantinople formalized the faith and outlawed atheism. Year 395, Roman Emperor Theodosius divided his country into 2 parts for his 2 sons. Western Rome, including Europe and Africa, with Rome as the capital, and Eastern Rome, including the Middle East and Egypt, with Constantinople as the capital. From then on, Eastern Rome and Western Rome developed along separate paths. In year 400, Eastern Rome was replaced by the Byzantine Empire. Years 420–589, China during the Northern and Southern Dynasties period. In southern China, the Song, Shi, Liang, and Chen dynasties ruled in succession, all with Jiankang as the capital. Northern China was under the rule of the Northerns, Wei dynasty, then Eastern Wei and Western Wei, followed by Northern Qi and Northern Zhou. The most notable aspect of this period was that Northern Wei implemented the military field system, distributing land to peasants for cultivation, and the three-head system to control peasants. The implementation of these systems benefited production development. Much wasteland was reclaimed, agricultural techniques improved, especially ploughing, fertilizing, seed selection, and livestock raising. Along with agricultural development, handicraft industry also flourished. Year 429. The Vandals, one of the Germanic peoples in Europe, arrived and established their state in North Africa, with Carthage as the capital in year 439. Years 445–453. Attila, leader of the Huns, based in the Middle Danube River region, present-day Hungary, invaded Italy, the Visigoths, and Franks, defeating them in the Battle of Chalons. Afterwards, Attila invaded northern Italy but was stopped by Pope Leo I. Year 449. The Anglo-Saxons and Jutes, originally living in the North Sea region, northern Germany and Denmark, crossed the English Channel, conquered Britain, and established many small states there. Year 457. The Burgundians conquered the southeastern part of Gaul and established a new kingdom there. This kingdom lasted nearly a century until year 534, when it was annexed by the Frankish kingdom. Year 476. Odoacer, leader of the Ostrogoths, overthrew the last emperor of the Roman Empire, Romulus. The Roman Empire perished, and Europe began entering feudal society. Years 481–511. The reign of Clovis, founder of the Merovingian dynasty, who established the Frankish kingdom. This kingdom lasted long and is considered the first state in Western Europe in the early Middle Ages. Around year 550, Funan, in Cambodia, changed its name to Chenla. By the 7th century, it split into Land Chenla in the north and Water Chenla in the south. By the 9th century, Water Chenla survived longer independently, but later unified into Chenla. Year 570, birth year of Muhammad, founder of Islam. Year 590, the Sui dynasty was established in China, rebuilt the Great Wall to defend the country, and strengthened waterway construction. The Sui dynasty collapsed in year 618. Years 598–614, the Sui dynasty, China, carried out many foreign wars. 4 invasions of Goguryeo, Korea, in years 598, 611, 613, and 614 all failed. Invaded Van Xuan, Vietnam, in year 603. Attacked Linyi, Champa, in year 605 but did not capture it. In year 608, the Turks invaded Gansu, a small state in northwestern China, and other neighboring countries in East Asia and the western regions, all forced to submit. Around year 600, for the first time in the world, the Chinese invented gunpowder by mixing saltpeter, sulfur, and charcoal in sand pits. Year 600, the Tiahuanaco people established a unified empire, including much of Peru in South America. Around years 600–700, 2 Mon states, Dvaravati and Halipjun Jaya, were formed in southern Thailand today. These 2 states were influenced by India and Chenla, playing a very important role in spreading Indian culture into Chenla. Years 606–648, King Harsha ruled India, with his capital at Kanauj. Under Harsha's reign, India was unified, prosperous in literature and art. Harsha was one of the most famous patrons of Buddhism in India. He once convened a Buddhist scripture compilation council with the participation of Xuanzang from China. Year 611. The peasant war movement at the end of the Sui dynasty broke out, beginning in Shandong, then spreading to many places in China. The rebels gained many victories, controlled half the land north and south of the Yellow River. In year 616, Emperor Yang of Sui fled from the capital Chang'an to Jiangdu in the south. In year 618, Emperor Yang of Sui was killed in a mutiny by naval generals. The Sui dynasty perished. Year 618, the Tang dynasty, 680–906, was established, opening the golden age of feudal China with the equal field system, a complete administrative apparatus, and significant advances in astronomy, mathematics, and valuable historical works, as well as poetry, arts, and painting. Year 622, Muhammad and his followers left Mecca for Medina, marking the beginning of the Islamic era. Year 630, the Muslims conquered Mecca, making it the religious center of Islam. Year 633, the Arab Muslims began launching wars of conquest. By year 651, the Arabs had successively conquered Syria, 636, Palestine, 638, Egypt, 642, and Persia, 651, laying the foundation for the formation of a vast and powerful Arab-Muslim empire. Year 646. With firm internal consolidation, the Tang dynasty, China, launched many external campaigns. The Tang conquered the Turks and destroyed a powerful state north of the Protectorate, Northern Turks. In the west, the Tang annexed Tuyuhun, 635, and Gaochang, 640, then established the Angxi Protectorate. In the northeast, the Tang repeatedly fought Goguryeo, Baekje, and Silla, Korea, establishing the Andong Protectorate. Over nearly 40 years, the Tang annexed many surrounding states and became one of the largest empires in the contemporary world. Years 646–649, the Taika reform established the feudal system in Japan. Years 651–652, the Quran, the holy book forming the basis of Islamic doctrine and law, was published for the first time. Year 698, Carthage fell into the hands of the Muslims, ending Byzantine rule in North Africa. Year 700, the Arab Muslims conquered North Africa. From then on, North Africa became a springboard for the Muslims to invade Europe. Year 700, the Kingdom of Ghana became one of the empires of the Sudan region and a wealthy trade center in Africa. The nomadic Red Indians in northern Mexico invaded Teotihuacan in central Mexico, where civilization had existed since the 1st century. From there, the brilliant Maya civilization in the Yucatan Peninsula, Mexico, and Guatemala developed. Years 710–794, the Nara period in Japan, the feudal system was consolidated, flourishing in economy and culture. Year 711, Tariq, Muslim leader of the Berbers, invaded Spain, establishing Muslim rule in Spain until year 1492. Years 712–755, China reached prosperity under Emperor Xuanzong of Tang. Xuanzong issued many policies, reorganizing central and local governments, developing production and frugality, expanding trade and culture, arts, literature. Thanks to this, China achieved very prosperous development in economy, society, politics, and culture, called the flourishing reign of Kaiyuan Tianbao, the two era titles of Xuanzong. Year 750. The Abbasid dynasty replaced the Umayyad dynasty ruling the Arab Muslim Empire, with Baghdad as the capital, year 762. Under the reign of Caliph Harun al-Rashid, Baghdad was the most magnificent city of the time. This was the period of great glory, full of prosperity of Arab Muslim civilization for 500 years, 1001 nights. The Abbasid dynasty perished in year 1258. Year 756, King Pepin the Short of the Franks founded the Carolingian dynasty, laying the foundation for France. Pepin carried out many campaigns to defend the territory, defeated invaders, and recovered important lands in Rome and Ravenna. Years 768–814. Charlemagne, king of the Franks, carried out many wars conquering Europe, became the greatest emperor of Europe, ruled a vast empire including most of the lands of the former Western Roman Empire, established a scholarly environment at the royal court to teach, preserve classical knowledge and Christian teachings. Years 794–1192. The Heian period of Japan, the samurai warrior class was formed, society began to develop culture, and the capital was built in Kyoto. Year 800. The Arab Muslims turned Madagascar and Zanzibar into colonies, carried out expeditions into inland Africa seeking slaves for 200 years. Years 827–880, the Muslims invaded Sicily, Palermo, Messina, Rome, and Malta. Year 843, the sons of King Louis the Pious signed the Treaty of Verdun. The Frankish kingdom was divided into 3 parts. Charles the Bald received the Western Kingdom, Lothair received the Empire, and Louis the German received the Eastern Empire. Duke Lothair received the central part. From then on, in the 9th and early 10th centuries, the Western Frankish Kingdom, Eastern Frankish Kingdom, and the Italian Empire were formed, considered the foundations of France, Germany, Eastern Franks, precursor of the German nation, and Italy. Year 858, Photius, Patriarch of Constantinople. Under his time, there was division in Christianity between East and West. Year 874, the peasant uprising in China under the Tang dynasty broke out in Shandong. In year 878, the rebel army led by Huang Chao launched a southern expedition, capturing the capital Chang'an. In year 881, Huang Chao proclaimed himself emperor, named the country Great Qi. However, in year 884, the peasant uprising was suppressed and failed. Huang Chao had to commit suicide. Year 882, Kiev city was made the capital of ancient Russia. Year 882, Grand Duke Oleg, originally ruling Novgorod, captured Kiev and made other princes his vassals. Oleg's territories combined were called Russia, Rusi, Rus, with Kiev as the capital. Year 889, the beginning of the Angkor period of Khmer civilization. The Khmer kingdom was politically strong, expanded in territory, and developed a brilliant culture. From the 9th to 13th centuries, the 2 great architectural works, Angkor Thom and Angkor Wat, were built and became one of the largest religious centers in the world. The Angkor period declined after year 1434. Year 900, the Kingdom of Denmark was established. Around year 910, Phases or Rhasis, Persian physician, for the first time distinguished mumps disease from parotid gland disease. Years 902 to 960, the Umayyad dynasty in Spain reached its peak. Córdoba became the intellectual center of Europe. Around years 980–1015, the reign of Vladimir I, later called Saint Vladimir, Grand Prince of Kiev. He adopted Christianity of the Greeks as the religion of the Russians. Year 981, the Song dynasty China launched the first invasion of Jai Viet, but suffered a heavy defeat. In year 1076, the Song again sent Guo Kui to invade Jai Viet the second time. After 2 months, the Song army was defeated, and within less than 3 months, the invading Song army was destroyed thanks to the defense line at the Cao River by the Li dynasty army. Because of heavy military losses, Guo Kui had to withdraw. The second invasion of Jai Viet by the Song dynasty ended in great failure. Around year 990, the beginning of civilization in Zimbabwe created by the Bantu people, huge stone buildings were built around the 15th century. This civilization declined after year 1750. Year 992, the Kingdom of Poland was established. Years 997 to 1038, the reign of Stephen, founder of the Kingdom of Hungary. Around the year 1000, Ericsson discovered the coast of North America and named it Vinland. Around the years 1010, the golden age of epic literature in Western Europe. La Chanson de Roland was composed, telling about the war between Charlemagne's army and the Arabs in the year 778. From the year 1044–1288, the Kingdom of Pagan was formed and developed on the territory of present-day Myanmar. The capital Pagan was called the City of 1,000 Temples. In the year 1054, the Roman Pope Leo IX and the Archbishop of Constantinople, Michel Kerularios, declared mutual excommunication, leading to the division of the Christian Church into 2 churches. In the West called the Roman Catholic Church or Christianity, the Pope was the head. In the East called the Orthodox Church or the Greek Church. These decrees were abolished in the year 1965. In the year 1069, the Song dynasty, China, carried out the reform proposed by Prime Minister Wang Anshi, historically called the Reform of Wang Anshi, with the main content aiming at comprehensive and bold changes, of which the major elements were: the state lent people money to buy agricultural products, regulated market prices, reduced the exploitation of merchants, encouraged land reclamation, expanded irrigation, increased state income, selected new troops to reduce the burden of supporting the army on the people. The state governed by legal codes. But since Wang Anshi's policies aimed at a long-term struggle and some new measures were unfamiliar, it failed midway. In the year 1085, the reform was abolished. Around the year 1088, the University of Bologna was established in Italy, based on Justinianus law. This was the first university in Europe, mainly teaching Roman law. The University of Bologna was the beginning of the Western European university system. In the year 1096, the First Crusade to the east began, occupying Antioch, Jerusalem, brutally suppressing the Muslims and establishing the Latin Kingdom, 1099 to 1191, of Jerusalem. In the year 1144, with the approval of the Pope, Portugal became an independent kingdom. In the year 1147, the Second Crusade to the east was carried out when the Turks occupied Edessa. Participating in this war were two European kings, the French Emperor Louis and the German King Conrad. But the result was that the Turks completely defeated them and held the country. In the year 1150, the University of Paris was established with 4 faculties: arts, medicine, law, and theology, of which theology was most highly esteemed. From the year 1163 to 1235, Notre Dame Cathedral was built in Paris. In the year 1182, the Jews were expelled from France, but in the year 1189 they returned. From the years 1189 to 1192, the Third Crusade to the east, with the participation of the German Emperor Frederick the Père Barbarossa, the French King Philippe Auguste, and the English King Richard the Fin, the Lionheart. The Crusaders captured Acre but failed in Jerusalem and returned to Europe. In this crusade, the English King Richard the Bee was captured by the Muslims. In the year 1190, the Mongols, Tartars, under the leadership of Temujin, began unifying the Mongol tribes. In the year 1206, he took the title Genghis Khan, and led the Mongol army to conquer many regions of East Asia and Western Asia. From the years 1190 to 1333, the Kamakura shogunate in Japan established the domination of the feudal military lords. From the years 1202-1204, the Fourth Crusade to the east with the participation of feudal lords of France, Germany, and Italy. The Crusaders captured Constantinople and established a Latin empire. From the years 1206-1526, the period of domination of the Islamic dynasty in India. During this period, India was strongly influenced by Islamic culture, especially in the fields of art and architecture. In the year 1215, King John of England signed the Great Charter of Liberties, Magna Carta, becoming the foundation of the English Constitution, with the principle that the king also had to obey the law. From the years 1217 to 1221, the Fifth Crusade to the east, with the participation of the King of Hungary and feudal lords of Germany, Austria, and the Netherlands. The Crusaders attacked the Muslims in Egypt but failed. From the years 1218-1224, the Mongols from Central Asia conquered Afghanistan and Persia. From the years 1226-1270, the reign of Saint Louis, Louis IX, a period of prosperity for the French economy. In the year 1227, the cathedral in Toledo, Spain, was inaugurated, built in Gothic style. From the years 1228-1229, the Sixth Crusade to the east, led by the German Emperor Frederick. Egypt had to sign a treaty returning Jerusalem, Nazareth, and Bethlehem to the Christians. Around the year 1231, the University of Cambridge in England was established. From the years 1237-1242, the Mongol army under the leadership of Batu Khan occupied Moscow and almost all of Russia, Hungary, Poland, and invaded Germany. From the years 1238-1406, the period of the Sukhothai dynasty in Thailand. During this time, the Thai people absorbed Indian culture and Buddhism, while Thai culture also began to develop distinctive elements. The laws of Manu, the ancient code of India, was used as a model for organizing the state. Based on this, the kingdom's laws were written. Sukhothai also established a class system in the country. From the years 1245–1253, the Mongols attacked Mesopotamia and Armenia. From the years 1248–1254, the Seventh Crusade to the east, led by King Louis the Faughn of France, attacking Egypt but failing. King Louis Namer was captured. From the years 1260 to 1368, the Yuan dynasty, the Mongol dynasty in China, was established. The Yuan attempted many times to conquer Japan, Vietnam, Indonesia, but all failed. During this dynasty, China built an advanced postal system and a network of railroads and canals. This period also marked the brief expansion of Chinese invasions into Europe and Africa. In the year 1270, the Eighth Crusade to the east. The Crusaders attacked Tunis but were repelled. From the years 1271 to 1292, the Yuan dynasty, China, conducted many foreign wars, 2 invasions of Japan in the years 1274 and 1281 but failed, 3 invasions of Myanmar in the years 1277, 1283, and 1287, forcing Myanmar to submit and pay tribute to the Yuan, 3 invasions of Jai Viet in the years 1258, 1285, and 1288 but suffered disastrous defeats. In the year 1293, the Yuan invaded Java, Indonesia, but also failed. In the year 1271, Marco Polo left Venice for China and many places in the east. He returned to Europe in the year 1292. From the years 1275–1348, King Ram Kamhaeng reigned over the Sukhothai dynasty in present-day Thailand, established a provincial administration system, completed the Thai script system, and developed Thai art. In the year 1290, the Jews were expelled from England, but in the year 1650 they returned. In the year 1300, the Incas built a civilization in Cusco and controlled a vast territory with a population of about 7 million people. In the year 1325, the Aztecs in North America began building their capital Tenochtitlan in the year 1525, the capital of Mexico. The kings of the Aztecs were famous for their social organization and mystical philosophy. The Spaniards destroyed this nation in the year 1521. In the year 1326, the Ottoman Empire of the Turks began invading Eastern Europe and built the capital Adrianople. By the end of the 14th century, the Ottomans controlled most of the Balkans and the Byzantine territories in Asia Minor. In the year 1334, the Black Death began in Constantinople. From the year 1337 to 1352, it spread across Europe and Asia, killing many people. From the years 1336–1558, the Ashikaga shogunate, also called the Muromachi shogunate, in Japan. During this period, there were continuous wars between feudal lords, and the economy and trade developed. From the years 1337 to 1453, the 100 Years' War between England and France after Edward III claimed the throne of France. England was defeated, France was restored. In the year 1351, the people's uprising against the Yuan dynasty began. One of the symbolic figures of the uprising was Zhu Yuanzhang, who rose up in Jinling, Nanjing, attracting many people. In the year 1364, he proclaimed himself King of Wu. By the year 1367, Zhu Yuanzhang's uprising had grown strong and well organized. The Yuan dynasty was defeated. Under the Ming dynasty, Zhu Yuanzhang established an extremely centralized feudal system. All power was in the hands of the emperor, and the subjects were severely controlled. In the year 1353, the Lanzang Kingdom, the land of 1,000,000 elephants, was established on the territory of present-day Laos. From the years 1368 to 1644, the Ming dynasty began ruling China after expelling the Mongols. The territory of China was expanded, influencing Jai Viet, Myanmar, and Korea. Europeans were also allowed to reside in Macau and Guangzhou. From the years 1368 to 1426, China in the flourishing period of the Ming dynasty. During this period, the Yongle Emperor and later the Xuande Emperor implemented many policies to develop production, encourage land reclamation, grant land to migrants, reduce taxes, send envoys abroad, strengthen the army, strictly punish corrupt officials, and build a centralized feudal system. In the year 1370, the Hanseatic League of German cities, a commercial alliance, signed a treaty with Denmark allowing them the monopoly of trade in northern Europe. In the year 1392, the Yi dynasty began ruling Korea and built the capital in Seoul. From the years 1350 to 1867, the period of the Ayutthaya dynasty in Thailand. This was a very brilliant period of Buddhist culture. The first king was Ramadipati, 1350–1369. The Ayutthaya dynasty flourished under King Trilok, 1448–1488, with a reform program establishing land ownership and legal systems. During the reign of King Siri Suryavongsa Rama, Buddhism was strongly promoted. In the year 1406, the Forbidden City in Beijing, China, also called the Purple Forbidden City, was built and became the imperial palace of 24 emperors of the Ming and Qing dynasties. It was one of the greatest architectural works in the world, of cultural, historical, and artistic value, and the most complete architectural work of ancient China. In the year 1430, the Ming dynasty began to weaken. At this time, powerful families gradually took over, so administrative power became chaotic. Officials only sought favors from these families, while the nobles sought to seize peasants' land. In addition, China was repeatedly invaded by the Mongols. Therefore, the people suffered greatly. In the year 1440, J.G. Gutenberg, 1399–1468, a German, invented printing with movable type in Europe. By this method, each type was a metal block engraved with a letter. These small blocks were assembled into words, lines, and entire pages of books that could be reused many times, called the movable type printing method, letters cast from lead. In the year 1453, Constantinople fell into the hands of the Turks, ending the 1,000 years of existence of the Byzantine Empire. From the years 1462–1505, the reign of Ivan III the Great in Russia, unifying most of Russia, moving the capital to Moscow. The Kremlin and many churches in Moscow were built. In the year 1479, Portugal expelled the Jews who refused to convert to Christianity. In the year 1486, Bartolomeo Diaz, the first European to reach the Cape of Good Hope in Africa, marking the condition that led to the success of finding the sea route to India. From the years 1492–1504, Christopher Columbus conducted 4 voyages of exploration to America, setting foot on the islands, Canary, Bahamas, Cuba, Jamaica, Trinidad, and Honduras. From the years 1497–1499, Vasco da Gama, a Portuguese, carried out a voyage around Africa across the Indian Ocean to India. In the year 1500, in Italy there were 73 printing houses already operating. The most famous press was Aldine in Venice, which published classical works, printed in a script imitating Petrarch's handwriting. In the year 1500, Brazil belonged to Portugal. In the year 1530, Portugal began colonizing Brazil. In the year 1510 or 1517, Paré, 1500–1590, a French surgeon, founded modern surgery thanks to the practice of tying arteries to stop bleeding and using cauterization instead of cutting into wounds. In the year 1511, Spain occupied Cuba and Puerto Rico. On March 27, 1513, the Spanish navigator Juan Ponce de León reached the Florida Peninsula in the southeast of the United States, setting foot on American soil. On March 27, 1513, on the occasion of Easter, he named this peninsula Pascua, Florida, Easter in bloom. In the year 1517, Martin Luther began the religious Reformation in Germany. In the year 1519, Ulrich Zwingli began the Protestant religious reform movement in Switzerland. From the years 1519 to 1522, in 3 years Magellan carried out the voyage of circumnavigation of the Earth across the Atlantic Ocean and the Pacific Ocean, to the Philippines, and across the Indian Ocean. From the years 1520–1857, the Mughal dynasty of Babur in India began. On March 7, 1524, the navigator Verrazzano, an Italian by origin, explored the North American coast. By order of the French King Francis I, he set foot on the coast of North Carolina. He undertook the voyage exploring the North American coast, 1524 to 1525. From the years 1524 to 1525, the peasant war movement in Germany developed on a large scale, attracting many social classes, from surviving knights to feudal lords and clergy. The movement failed and left a devastating scene. From the years 1526–1527, Paracelsus, a Swiss chemist, metallurgist, scholar and physician, founded the field of therapeutics to overthrow the medical tradition of Hippocrates, who until then was considered the greatest physician. In the year 1534, the English Parliament declared King Henry, Henry VIII, the head of the Church. Thus began the period of religious reform in England. In the year 1543, Nicholas Copernicus, a Polish astronomer, published his great work on astronomy in the book On the Revolutions of the Celestial Spheres, Revolutionibus Orbium Coelestium. In the year 1543, Vesalius, 1514–1564, a Flemish anatomist, published De Corporis Humani Fabrica, the first anatomical book with illustrations that differed from Galen's traditional conceptions. In the year 1546, St. Peter's Basilica began construction in Rome, completed in the year 1626. This holy city was a magnificent architectural work with facades, many arches, thick walls, large columns, and later Renaissance doors. In the year 1546, Servetus, a Spanish physician and theologian, discovered the minor circulation of blood between the heart and lungs. In the year 1551, the University of San Marcos was established in Lima, the capital of Peru. In the year 1551, the National University of Mexico was established. In the year 1556, George Bauer, a German scientist, founded mineralogy. From the years 1556 to 1598, the reign of Philip II of Spain. This was the dynasty when the Habsburg family reached its peak and was the golden age of Spanish culture and literature. In the year 1557, the Portuguese came to Macau and began trading with China. In the year 1559, Gerhard Kramer, a Flemish scientist, for the first time drew the world map in cylindrical projection, a method called the Mercator projection. From the years 1559 to 1603, the reign of Elizabeth I, who founded the Church of England and marked the English Renaissance, the Elizabethan age was marked by the flourishing of literature. In the year 1560, born Thomas Harriot, 1560–1621, a great English mathematician, astronomer, geographer, and navigator. He invented the telescope, discovered the law of refraction of light, and introduced new numerical symbols. Around the year 1586, he conducted a statistical survey of Virginia lands. In the year 1562, the war between Catholics and Huguenots in France broke out. In the year 1598, King Henry IV issued the Edict of Nantes, allowing the Huguenots the freedom of legal worship, ending religious wars. In the year 1577, born J.B. van Helmont, 1577–1644, a Flemish physicist and alchemist who initiated quantitative biochemistry. On January 23, 1579, as a result of the struggle against Spain, the Utrecht Conference, including delegates of the northern provinces of the Netherlands, decided to establish the Republic of the Netherlands, officially in the form of a federation with a common parliament, finance, laws, diplomacy, and military. But the provinces still retained autonomy, even separate foreign policies. This was the earliest democratic bourgeois revolution in history. On June 17, 1579, the English navigator Francis Drake landed on the California coast, North America, and declared it the land of Queen Elizabeth of England, naming it Nova Albion. This event was considered the beginning of the conquest and foundation of England in the New World. 1582, Pope Gregory XIII, 1502–1585, created the solar calendar system that is widely used around the world, Gregorian calendar. Around 1588, Li Shizhen, Ming dynasty, in China completed Compendium of Materia Medica, the greatest classical work of pharmacology in China. The book introduced 1892 medicinal substances, analyzed and classified in a very scientific way. 1589, Henry IV established the Bourbon dynasty. This dynasty ruled France until 1792. 1590, Zacharias Janssen, a Dutch optician, invented the microscope. 1595, the Dutch began colonizing Indonesia. 1600, the British East India Company was established in order to monopolize trade with ports and enterprises in the Far East. The British East India Company carried out invasions of India and Southeast Asian countries. 1601, William Gilbert, 1544-1603, English physicist, published the book De Magnete, presenting the fundamental law on magnets and magnetism. It was a future work of physics and experimental physics. 1601, Pierre de Fermat, 1601-1665, French mathematician, discovered integral geometry, the theory of modern numbers, and differential calculus. 1602, the Dutch East India Company, abbreviated VOC, was established for trade and colonial conquest in Indonesia. 1602, Galileo Galilei, 1564-1642, Italian physicist and astronomer, was the first to establish the law of motion of falling objects and built the method of experimental observation. As one of the inventors of the telescope, in 1609 he demonstrated the motion of the sun. 1603, 1867, Ieyasu came to power and established the Tokugawa dynasty in Japan. 1609, newspapers began to be published on the European continent. The first newspaper was Aviso Relation oder Zeitung in Germany. 1609-1619, Johannes Kepler, 1571-1630, astronomer and astrologer, discovered 3 fundamental laws of planetary motion. 1609-1625, the Dutch New Amsterdam Company organized migration to settle in the northern region of the Hudson River and called that region New Amsterdam, North America. In 1626, the Dutch bought Manhattan Island, later permanently transferred to the English, who renamed it New York. 1614, John Napier, Scottish mathematician, invented logarithms, the most outstanding method of arithmetic calculation. 1615, Miguel de Cervantes, 1547-1616, Spanish writer, published Don Quixote, one of the most famous literary works of the Renaissance. 1619, René Descartes, 1596-1650, French philosopher, physicist, and mathematician, presented analytic geometry. July 30th, 1619, the first assembly at Jamestown of English settlers in North America decided to establish the House of Burgesses, laying the first foundation for the legislative body in the later state of Virginia. 1620, Francis Bacon, 1561-1626, English scientist, published Novum Organum, for the first time clarifying the official theory of inductive logic. 1623, Blaise Pascal, 1623-1662, French mathematician, physicist, writer, and teacher, founded modern probability theory and established the law of hydrostatics, Pascal's law. Around 1626, Sanctorius, Italian physician, for the first time described the use of human body temperature as a measure of pathology. 1627, the peasant uprising in Shanxi, China, broke out under the leadership of commanders Gao Yingxiang, Zhang Xianzhong, and Li Zicheng. In 1636, Li Zicheng organized the insurgent army of the Six Route Uprising in the north. Li Zicheng's uprising achieved a resounding victory. In 1644, Li Zicheng ascended the throne in Xi'an, Shanxi, naming the country Great Shun. But due to internal division, in 1646, the insurgent army was defeated by the Qing forces. 1628-1638, the dynasty of Shah Jahan ruled India. During his reign, the Taj Mahal, one of the most beautiful architectural works in the world, was built of magnificent white marble, worthy of being one of the 7 wonders of the world, as a gift to the empress, the wife most beloved by this king.